This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so welcome everyone to our Lunch and Learn with Chris Holbrook from Find Out Now. Chris is the CEO and founder of Found Out Now. And Found Out Now is used by the UK's main political parties, national newspapers, and also many TV programmes. So today he's going to demonstrate how the platform works, and you will have also the chance to ask him any questions. Please don't forget that Chris is kindly offering ICG members 50% off their first project with Find Out Now. So that's a fantastic discount. Thank you, Chris. And I will hand over to you now, Chris.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for having me. I don't know whether you can all see, but you should be able to see our homepage being shared. So this is a Find Out Now website. It's really the tip of the iceberg, but I'd like to start with it to give you an idea of the kind of what we can do, the power sort of under the hood. So what we have here on the left, we have live responses coming in right now. Every day we have 100,000 or thereabouts people across the UK answering questions, and that's literally, so when panels say quote their numbers, this is literally 100,000 people or thereabouts answering between 1 and 7 questions every day. We tend to keep the number of questions low, so we have an arbitrary limit of 7 because we think at that point you start to lose people's attention, and I can explain a bit more about why we do that in a moment. So this feed of live responses on the left, you'll see that different people are answering different questions, and that's because you will get a different question depending on who you are and whereabouts you are in the sort of the life cycle. So if you've just joined the panel, you will probably get what's your gender, or when were you born, your household income, etc. So the usual demographic questions we sort of front load. And once all those questions have been answered, we can then do clever things with your responses. So one of the things that our flagship product, I guess, is our rapid nat rep, nationally representative polling. And as Lucy mentioned, we do that for newspapers, for political parties, and in particular Channel 4 News, who are very good at dropping things on us very last minute, and that's not their fault because news happens last minute. Also, if you're a leader of a political party, you'll need things will suddenly crop up 5 hours before you're due to go on to the Today program or the PMQs. So they come to us with questions, and we turn them around very quickly. And the way we can do that is because we have 100,000 people across the UK, very well spread across the demographics, who are deeply profiled, and it's roughly the same 100 people that answer the questions every day. Now, in terms of the kind of work you do, it's probably not going to be that urgent. We also do a lot of work with brands, PR companies in particular, doing sort of press releases, working with small businesses who are trying to get an idea of what their target customers want from their products. We do that too. If you imagine it's a kind of steady stream of 100,000 people, you plug in and you grab you field your questions and you plug out again. And I'll just give you a demonstration of how that works exactly. So quickly gonna add if you notice here, if you wanted to, we could do any sort of targeting. We could target based on gender, age, employment status, etc. Actually, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of variables we can target. But in terms of the UI, these are the ones that we've just curated to make it easy. But for now, we'll just do a basic, what we call snapshot, which is really just opening up the floodgates to whoever's currently answering questions. If we wanted to, we can make it a national representative, and it will do national representative on the fly. That's really clever. Hopefully I'll have time to come back to explain how that works. But for now, I should turn that off and go for 200 responses. I spoke to Mike earlier, and he was keen on asking a question about pubs. So I guess because it's Friday tomorrow. So we're going to ask, what's your local pub called? We'll say, what's your most local, because people got conflicted. And we're going to make it a free text answer. And the reason I like to do free text questions in demos is because when people are having to type in the answers, I haven't got anywhere to hide. If people are just pointing and clicking, it's harder to tell the quality. So hopefully we'll get some good quality responses. Hopefully we won't get loads of red lines. We should get some nice good pub names. We'll also ask a quant question. So how frequently do you visit this pub? A single answer. We could do multiple answers if we had a multiple answer question, where you could select more than one. So we'll say never, rarely, less than once per month, several times per month, weekly, several times per week, daily. Okay. And we'll turn the randomization off. If we wanted to, we could add up to 7 through this UI. There's no reason why we can't add more than 7 at once. We just put this arbitrary limit for reasons I explained. If you really had to get 9 or 10 or even 12 questions responded to today, we could break that rule, and we would do that in the back end for you. If you have 20 or 30 or 40 or even 50 questions, we can do that as well. But we will chunk we'll put the questions into sets, and we'll chain them over several days. We do quite a lot of that. So your normal surveys that you're used to having with the 20-minute surveys, we can do that as well. Just quickly input this stuff. You'll notice here actually there's no credit card input here. So anyone, you could, if you wanted to, you could now go to findoutnow.co.uk and you could add a question yourself. Please don't, because I'm busy. But the idea is that you will see it there, and most likely we'll get in touch with you about, we'll either set it live if it's written well, or we'll get in touch with you to clarify some stuff. So let's just quickly set that live. Cool. All right, so that's going to start going now. We'll give it a few seconds to start to collect some responses. Whilst we're doing that, I'll just explain who these responses are coming from. So about 11, 12 years ago, I launched, I was a web developer and I had an idea for a website. I thought, why do you have to pay for lotteries? Why couldn't we have a free lottery on the internet funded by advertising? It was around the times where Facebook was coming out and Facebook was free, and lots of things that you'd normally pay for were being free. So they're finding free ways of offering them on the internet. So I launched a very simple website called Free Postcode Lottery, where I gave away £10 every day to one of the registered postcodes. And the catch is you have to come back and check every day to see whether your postcode has won. So if you haven't checked on the day it wins, it rolls over to the next winning postcode. We've since changed our name. We're now called Pick My Postcode. I'll just quickly show you what that looks like. So Pick My Postcode. I should log out. Sorry. Okay. So that's me, embarrassingly. So this is the homepage. Same idea. You put your postcode and your email address in, and then you get an email every day saying go and check whether you've won. The email looks like this. And you click on here and it takes you to the homepage.
Chris, we can't see that. We're only seeing the Find Out Now page.
Oh, okay, yes, because I've only, okay, so let me just quickly, you can't see the reminder email, so you just have to believe me that there's a reminder email, and then it takes you to this page. So every day you will be prompted to come and check to see whether your postcode has won. This is the main draw. It starts at £200 a day. You can see that today BR3, or whoever has registered BR3 3JB, has won. You can see down here there's 2 people who have registered that postcode, and neither of them have come and claimed. So if they don't do that by midday tomorrow, it'll roll over to £400. Very simple. And we from the very beginning we funded the prizes through the ads you're seeing here on the left and the right, and sometimes on the top. So from this point they can click through to the next draw where they have another chance of winning. This time we ask them to watch a short video. We tend to host videos from unsigned artists because we like to support the music industry. So the idea is if you click on this, you'll be shown a video and it will reveal the winning postcode. We won't make you watch that. And then here's the important part. So the next draw is a survey draw where we ask the market research questions. So you can see here that here's our Mike's question: what's your local pub called? 38, I'll actually answer it. And embarrassing, I'm going to say weekly, simply answers. And there it reveals the winning postcode after I've answered the questions. Importantly, and I probably should have demonstrated this before, you don't actually have to answer the questions. If you don't want to answer the questions, you can click on on no thanks, not today, and it shows winning postcode anyway. So we're not forcing anyone to answer questions. And in actual fact, what we find is we get about 100,000 people coming to this, sorry, about 140,000 people rather coming to this page, of whom about 65%, so about 100,000 people answer the questions, and about 35,000, about 35% don't answer the questions. But 65% of people answering questions is enough to give us 100,000 responses a day. And that's what you can see here. So here's our pub names. You can see, I don't know whether this is going too quickly for you to be able to read properly, but we're getting some good pub names there. Possibly some joking ones as well. And you can see it's already hit the 200 limit. This is just catching up, annoyingly. Oops. Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. Wait 1 second. So here we go. Here's the quant question. We see that most people rarely visit the pub, which is sad. And then people like me who visit weekly, only 4% of the population. Now, the population that we've just fielded this question to is skewed. It's not we didn't tick the nationally representative toggle, which means that our panel is naturally skewed towards older people. So there's lots of people over 35, 40. Fewer people under 25. We have more women than men, roughly 66% women and 33% men. But it's our nationally representative algorithms that I'll show you shortly that allow us to balance that out so that we can do proper, rigorous nationally representative polling. So in fact, I'll give you an example of that right now. So the stuff we do for Channel 4 News and these various newspapers here, we have a very innovative way of doing it. We have, when we get a question or questions we need to field, we quickly get we field them with a nationally representative toggle on. The system then makes an evaluation of whether it needs to ask a particular person the question to make up the quotas. So by quotas, I mean the right balance of gender, age range, social grade, region, how they voted in Brexit, and the 2019 general election. So what we see here in the green column here is how close the final output got to those quotas. So it's usually within 1%. So on the top here, this is the number of people we had to ask to then be able to run the cleansing algorithm that then goes and grabs at least 2,000 people with an optimally representative subsample. If that makes sense. I don't know, Mike, did that make sense? Lucy? I'll move on. So what we have here is
it does, Chris. Yeah, we talked about it before, so it makes a lot of sense to me. And then there's various ways of doing it. It's like, some people might take the first 2,000 and then top up from the rest. But the way yours works is essentially it samples from everything that's collected.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So what it does is it does a bit of choosing the right people, and over collect slightly, but then at the end we run it through an algorithm to go and select the optimally representative subsample from that bigger sample. So at the top we have the results here. Now the great thing about this is it takes us about 2 hours to do this, so hence being able to turn it around. We'll get something dropped on us by Channel 4 News at lunchtime, and then we'll be able to get it back to the graphics department for 5 p.m, which is when they need to get things all designed up for their broadcasts. So they can do things like this. You can't hear. For some reason you can't hear it.
And rode back on tax cuts. And Friday now asked 2,000 representative voters, should Liz Truss now resign? 64% said.
And she did, obviously. So yeah, we've done that a few times with Channel 4 News. I won't go through all of them, but we also work with newspapers. Like we've done stuff with the Guardian, with the Times. So these tabs take a while to load up. So yeah, we're very well recognised with the newspapers. We're members of the British Polling Council, so they've kind of looked at our method, and we're not allowed to say that they've vetted it or approved it, but we're on the British Polling Council. So everything we do needs to be published and done, abide by their rules. But apart from that, we do a lot of stuff, like I say, with political parties, political consultancies, brands, PR companies in particular, and I guess the next question is, how do we know? And what we usually ask is, how do we know whether the people we're asking are giving us a decent, accurate responses. Now, the truth is, when we first started, we didn't know that. But since we've started doing this, we've discovered they are. And actually, we get a lot better responses than you get through other sources of data and market research. And that has been shown a couple of times. So this is a report we got back from a well-known polling company that we supply sample to. This compares our sample to the other sources of sample. So companies like Dynata, I've obfuscated the other names for sensitivity. But what this is a cleansing report. So the second row is the percentage of responses that they had to get rid of because they sensed fraud. There was problems with the free text answers or whatever. Now, 4.3% of our responses had to be cleaned out, which is obviously not good enough. But compared to their own panel, 14.4%, and all these other sources they buy in from, it's a lot lower. So they now buy a sample in from us exclusively, and before they even use their own panel. That has also been shown through the survey exchanges. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with Cint or Lucid. They're now both the same company, but they're effectively programmatic survey exchanges, matching up people that want surveys answered with people who have people to answer those surveys like we do. And they've released this case study saying that for context, pick my postcode's reconciliation rate is 1.12%, which is nearly 3 percentage points lower than the Lucid platform average for the UK. So we know that the people who are responding are giving us well-considered and good answers. They don't need to be cleaned out. We also know that there's a big problem in the industry with what we call career responders. So the very fact that people get paid to answer these surveys, and I don't know whether anyone out there has answered a YouGov survey or whatever in the past, where it's a soul-destroying task. You spend 40 minutes answering question after question for £2.50 or whatever they're willing to pay you. So what we've discovered is that these traditional panels, they appeal to people who have consciously made a decision to have a second job answering surveys for several hours a week. And that's a quite strange type of person, particularly more strange than the kind of person who'd sign up to a free daily lottery. And we've had numerous tests by the people we work with that have confirmed this. For example, one of the biggest problems with the other panels is that their respondents tend to be skewed towards higher political attentiveness. We've profiled our political attentiveness, and what we find is it's much closer to normal. So here we go. Here's the profiling question. It's going to take a while to load. Yeah. So this is an example of a profiling question where we ask everyone over time. And so what we discovered is this level of attention is much more what you'd find, closer to what you'd find if you're just knocking on people's doors. Also, we've got the closest in the last election. This was the West Midlands mayoral election. If you look at the stats here on Wikipedia, we work with a company called Electoral Calculus, who help us do the number crunching. And there's countless articles about us. If you just Google find out now, you should be able to find more stuff. Conscious that we're probably running out of time now. It's 18 minutes through. So what can we, I guess the next question is, what can we do for you? If I just open up a panel book here, the panel book goes into some detail, and I can send this to everyone if you want. Just get in touch, or maybe Michael let me send it to you. But because we have 100,000 people answering questions every day, and because we ask them so many questions, they're very highly profiled. So we know, for example, what job they've got. So if you look here, this is the type of business that people work in. You can see that 3.68% work in accounting. That means that we can reach 3,680. So we can ask up to 7 questions, or possibly more if you want us to 3,680 people who work in accounting within 24 hours, right? Somebody who works in engineering, 4,140. This should give you the kind of idea of the reach we've got. So if any of your clients suddenly says, look, we really need to speak to people who work in the packaging industry and they're a decision maker, we've also profiled people for decision making roles. So we can target them not only on their industry, but also on their level of decision making ability. And and whatever the favorite pack of crisps, the flavor of crisps if you wanted. So what we find is that we're able to reach very small niches that other panels just can't reach because of our size. In addition to that, one thing that I need to make very clear is that what I showed you here, this kind of fancy rapid nat rep polling, this is effectively an omnibus service. So if you ever go to use an omnibus service, from what I've heard from people we work with, it's quite clunky. You have to wait until Tuesday or Friday or whatever, and once you've booked your spot on the omnibus, you take whatever results you get and you have to pay for them. With us, because we've always got this constant source of respondents, we can just turn on your question and turn it off when it's done. So we can do instant omnibus service. So you could drop us a question at 2 p.m. and we'll have the answers back to you by 4 or 5 p.m. And it can be one question, it could be 7 questions, it could be 10 questions. And we purposefully charge the same amount as other omnibus services. If we're just following our pricing here. For 2,000, it's £500 for the first question, and then £250 for each question after that. If you only want 1,000, we'll basically charge you half that. And obviously, like Lucy said, for your first time, we'll do it half price anyway. So just if you have anything if you ever think of thinking you're reaching for the omnibus, think about us first. Think of us as a taxi rather than an omnibus. If you just can't be bothered to go and wait for the bus, just think of us as an Uber. Beyond that, we also do sampling. So if you already have a survey that exists online already, let's say you've coded it up on SurveyMonkey or whatever, a lot of the work we do is sending people off to those types of surveys. So if you go back to the survey draw and pick my postcode, let's just say we've answered the question here. At this point, it takes what it knows about me as a member of Pick My Postcode, including my postcode and all the answers I've given. It then speaks to these other survey companies like Lucid and Cint, and goes and finds surveys that it thinks that I'm going to have a good chance of completing. So it's matched me with this one now. It's good, and for this, if I want, as a user, if I want to go and do this, I will earn £3 bonus. Now, bonus is a side pot on Pick My Postcode that gets added to your winnings if and when you win, right? So if I want to earn £3 for my bonus, I could go and click on Take Part Now. Then I go off on someone else's system, and I can go off and I can answer these questions if I wanted to, right? So that all happens in the background. But also, we do a lot of our work with people who don't work through the exchanges like Cint and Lucid. They just have a link to their survey. Send us your link, and tell us who you want us to send. We will make sure we send the right people to your link, and then when they get back, they get rerouted to our website. They get rewarded with a bonus. So a lot of what we do is actually the more traditional long form surveys. I think finally, we also offer a qual recruitment service. So if you imagine people are answering questions every day, the qual job that sticks in my mind the most was a few years ago when we had to recruit 30 people who lived within half an hour of Barnstaple, who drive a Hyundai, and there's a couple of other things. Now, we already know where people live because we have their postcode, and we know what car they drive because we've asked them. So we just had to ask the other extra screening questions, and then when we found people who matched, we were able to then prompt them with I'm not going to be able to see it, but something a bit like this, saying you've been chosen to take part in a 60-minute study where you'll be paid £50 to give your views on X, Y, Z. And we found it was very easy and quick for us to go and identify those people. And this company was really struggling. They're using the usual. I think they said they tend to use qual recruitment agencies. They were struggling. They tend to use Facebook to try to find these people. For us, it's very, very easy because, like I say, we have a steady stream of 100,000 people responding to surveys. Now, I'm just trying to think if there's anything I've missed. Do we have any questions? We've only got 6 minutes left.
Chris, just to re-emphasize one of the things that we've talked about in the past. So at the moment, this is just purely a UK audience.
Yeah.
You were dabbling with an idea in Ireland. Did that happen, or?
So yes, so we're live in Ireland, but we have a much smaller footprint. So we can do things in Ireland. We can do a NatRep 500, for example, in Ireland. But yeah, at the moment it's just in the UK, a little bit in Ireland. We're looking to go into the US later in the year. One thing that I was going to show you was to give an idea of the size of our panel. When COVID first hit, I heard on the radio that UCL were running a study measuring the social impact of COVID-19. I think at the time it was just called coronavirus. And so I got in touch saying, like, you need people, on the radio, they were appealing for people to sign up to the study. We managed to deliver them 30,000 people answering these longitudinal surveys within 72 hours. So, if you've got any project, it's what I'm trying to urge people not to think is to think that we're the rapid polling company. Yes, we are, but we also do lots of other things. We do lots of other things that we can do if you have a lot of people across the UK at your disposal. And we can be very, very flexible on price as well, because unlike other panel companies, we don't directly pay our panelists. Partly not because we're tight, but because actually you get better quality if you're not paying people. You're reaching people who aren't doing it as a second job.
Becky, did you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. Hi. Yeah. And sorry, I haven't got my camera on. I haven't connected it up today. Thank you, Chris. That's really interesting. I was just wondering what the kind of output is. Do you get like can you get like an Excel download so you can do a bit of your own sort of pivot tables on the results, for example?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that, because that's one thing I missed. Okay, so for your quant question, this is the question you asked earlier. How frequently do you visit the pub? Mm-hmm. You get what we call a segmentation report. So we're able to get the headline statistics, but we're also able to segment them by the data we hold already. So let's see. This should be obvious, but we'll start with age or region. We'll cut this by region, and we'll see people who drink the most come from where? We'll have a look. British Islands, which probably isn't surprising. The West Midlands, not massive drinkers in the Northwest, apparently. It's a very low sample size, so don't take any conclusions from that. But we could segment it by alcohol per week, for example, and hopefully we should see correlation here. Yeah, so people drink more, go to the pub more often, obviously. In addition to this, we'll send you a CSV of all the questions you've asked. So do you remember I said earlier that even if you've got 40 or 50 questions, we chain them, so we can send you, the output will be as if we asked at the same time. So just to give you a quick example, I wonder whether I can quickly download one. We go back to our test questions here, and I just, wait 1 second. I can hopefully go and grab, no, it's not working, it's not playing ball.
Do you include can you kind of append some of the additional profiling data points that you already hold on
yes,
those?
Becky, you're my favorite question asker. That's another thing I forgot to mention. I wish I could show you a data export. I can only show you my browser screen, but I'd love to be able to show you what an export looks like. And if you post in advance that you'd also like to know age, gender, region, or whatever, if you want whatever pets they've got, just tell us in advance, and we'll append the data to the questions you ask. So a lot of the stuff that we do, when people send us 10 questions, the first thing we do is say, well, the first 5 questions you don't need to ask because we've already asked that in the past. So we will happily just add that data in for free. Because we want, for our user experience, we want to ask them as few questions as possible. So we're more about user experience than we are about trying to squeeze money out of you. If that makes sense.
Okay, because I'm thinking about, I know you said you can sort of filter it on nationally representative sample, for example, in the first place, but there might be other variables that we might want to weight the data on, for example. But if we had a CSV output, we could potentially do that.
Absolutely, yeah. We can send it to the FPSF if you want. We have a couple of data analysts who are pretty good at. I'm not the smart one. They're very good at kind of outputting things that you want.
Okay, thank you.
I know we're running out of time. I know you need to go, Chris. We've got, if you can very quickly answer the question saying, can you tell a bit more about qual recruitment?
Yeah.
And Barbara, I guess you can contact Chris as well afterwards about this.
Yep. So Barbara, do you want to give me an example, or does anyone want to give me an example of what the kind of qual recruitment they'd be looking for? I can always make it up myself, but I'll give you a very brief example of how it might work. So we have 100,000. We're setting this to 200, but imagine if we set this to unlimited, so we can ask everyone. Let's say we're looking for people who own fish. Do you own pet fish? It's a stupid question, and say yes, yes. No, and we're looking for people who feed their fish a certain. I've papered myself into a corner here. I don't know any brand names for fish food. Okay. But what we could do is say which of the following brands of fish food do you buy? And you can say, look, I'm only interested in people in the southeast of England, and we can target these questions to the people in the southeast of England. We could screen out anyone who says no. We could screen in anyone who says I buy XYZ brand of fish food, and then you could keep asking questions. So we're effectively screening on the spot, trying to find the right person. When that's done, back on Fit My Postcode, which is where they're interacting with the surveys, they'll get a notification, a bit like this, saying, hey, look, we found you. Will you join us for our focus group or whatever? Here are click here to register your interest. So typically you would provide us with a link to a pre-screener form, so you could then collect the contact details. We could do that for you, but it's a lot more GDPR friendly if you let us send the respondents, the eligible candidates, to you. Does that answer your question?
I think she said she's in a noisy environment, so can't necessarily speak, but she was interested in recruiting for online video interviews, focus groups and communities. But perhaps you two can chat about that afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If you don't mind making the introduction, Lucy, that'd be great. If you could.
She says she'll get in touch later.
Lovely. Okay, cool. Yeah, anybody who wants to get in touch, it's, I'm sure you've got the contact details on the website, but it's ask@findoutnow.co.uk, ask@findoutnow.co.uk.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chris, and for Mike for finding Chris. And thank you everybody for attending. Please don't forget to redeem the 50% discount that Chris is offering, and I will circulate a recording to everybody early next week.
Lovely.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Really useful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Chris.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, Chris.